असां नंढपण खां हमेशह तारनि खे ॾिसी स्पेस जे राज़ ते हैरान थींदा आहियूं। हिन वसी काइनात हमेशह असांजे ख़्वाबनि ऐं सोचनि खे जाॻायो आहे। अॼु मूंखे हिकु बहितरीनु मौक़ो मिलियो आहे त मां हिकिड़े अहिड़े साइंसदान सां ॻाल्हायां जेको स्पेस खिला जी टेक्नोलॉजी ते कमु करे थो। संदसि कहाणी जी अहमियत इहा आहे त हुन बि असां मां केतिरनि ई वांगुरु शुरूआति कई ऐं पंहिंजी महिनत कई। अचो त हाणे असां उन जी इंस्पायरिंग कहाणी ॿुधूं। Today we are here in America's capital, Washington DC.
DC.
Yeah, and I have a very special person with me, a good friend of mine, incredible person, and he has dedicated his life in the space industry. So we will have a quick chat with him.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Pridenta.
Yeah.
For your time. I want to just start with, did you like biryani in Dubai?
Bro, you all took me to the best Pakistani food I ever had. I had that, we all call it mutton. This stuff was awesome. I think they had the mutton in the biryani, then they had another chicken biryani. It was phenomenal.
So yeah, I mean, you have been in the space industry.
Yeah.
I'm doing this to, help, inspire youth. So can you share about your journey, how you ended up, working in this industry?
Yeah, I don't know how far back you want to go, but I tell you what, I give you a quick and dirty rundown of how I got here. Maybe we do a teaser and then you do an extended, but and I'll correct you on one thing. Yeah, I dedicated my life to space, but I dedicated my life to meeting needs, and that's kind of what got me here. And I say that because I started out of high school. I didn't have the best grades out of high school. Matter of fact, I went to my counselor my senior year. That's the year you graduated before you go to college. And I asked her, "Hey, I want to go to college." And she was like, "Nah, you probably should go to trade school." I was like, "I was going to college." Trade school is like a trade, work with your hands. Nothing wrong with it. I wanted to go to college, right? And so people helped me along the way. And one of those people was my freshman advisor as a freshman. That's your first year in college in the U.S. He convinced me to do an internship my freshman year at Cops. Now, I had done some business stuff before that. I used to sell cars, I used to sell audio, but as a kid, I sold a lot of different things like candy, anything you can think of, firecrackers, just because, it wasn't a lot of money around where I was. My dad was a cab driver. My mom worked for the state of Alabama. They didn't make a lot of money, especially if you're black. They kind of sometimes wouldn't pay you as much as other people. So my dad was an entrepreneur. My mom, worked for the state. And so anyway, went to college. So the mentor said, design those audio filters. And I take the internship. But in the internship, I designed audio filters. They worked. They won first place at an engineering conference with upper class, multiple disciplines. So it wasn't just electrical engineering. And I fell in love with research and development. We started graduate school. And I looked around and I said, "It's not going to be any wires anywhere." I said, "I want to be on the cutting edge of that." And so I pursued RF and microwave because I wanted to be on the cutting edge of the no wires revolution. And I pursued opportunities with the cell phone companies. I pursued opportunities with NASA. It was very challenging at first. I got double-digit rejection letters for graduate school. So that means I got over 10 to 12 rejection letters. Graduate schools have asked me to speak that rejected my graduate school application. I applied for a lot of funding, double-digit rejection. I mean, it was a tough year. It was very challenging, very difficult to get into graduate school. It was very challenging, very difficult to get funded. But one opportunity opened up at the University of South Florida. Tell you a true story. I was actually at a Society of Women Engineers conference. True story. One of them did microwave. And so that's how I ended up going to school for microwave. And so I pursued those opportunities. I got that scholarship from the University of South Florida, did my master's in antennas, and then now for the PhD, I wanted to design complete sensors. And so I pursued opportunities with cell phone companies and NASA, because I was like, well, who has the best wireless technology, right? Remember, I looked around and I said, it's not going to be any wires anywhere. I wanted to be on the cutting edge of that. Who has the best technology? The cell phone companies and NASA. So I pursued opportunities with both, and I was going somewhere with the rejection letters. After getting all those rejection letters, I learned how to write good proposals. Graduate schools have an application, funding applications you have to write kind of the proposal. So I won the NASA fellowship. Yeah. So I got a internship at NASA that came along with the fellowship. So that's how I kind of got my foot in the door.
Right, right. I think you mentioned about you didn't have good grades, and this is something I really wanted to,
Yeah.
emphasize that doesn't matter if you have a good grades or if you are so passionate about something.
Yeah.
There's always something
Yeah.
you can contribute.
So
Yeah,
so let me tell you something. I worked very hard. It wasn't that I was goofing off in school, meaning that I worked very hard. I went to tutoring. Even when my parents didn't have, nobody told me to go to tutoring for math. I went to math tutoring. For all of my years, I asked her except my senior year because I didn't need it senior year. But freshman, sophomore, junior year, I went and nobody asked me to go. I worked very hard. School was just challenging. From business was easier. I was doing business in high school, 7 o'clock. Women, I learned how to hook it up. That's what got me into electrical engineering. But here's what I wanted to say. What I didn't mention was I didn't have no scholarships out of high school, zero. So what I did, just like you said, passion. I went to every building on the college campus and I said, "Do you have a scholarship?" 2 people said, one, the business department said, "I give you a scholarship." The math department, that was my mentor that told me. He said, "You make the grades, I give you a scholarship." I made a 3.7 GPA that was like all A's and 1 C. 3.7.
3 points.
My first semester of college. So I never made grades like that. And he gave me the scholarship for the next semester, and that's why he told me to do the internship and all those things. So you're right, we have to be passionate. So I didn't give up. Getting into college wasn't easy to get scholarships.
Right. Yeah.
Every school,
Coming from a humble background and then making it to
right. Because my mama told me as a kid, like I can't afford to sing in college. I didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
That's why I did all the business stuff. My dad was a cab driver. He had money when he could. But, I had a work ethic. I worked as a child, made money for myself, so I didn't put that burden on my parents. I took that work ethic in the classroom and worked hard, even though it was challenging.
That's very inspiring.
Yeah.
So can you describe about your typical day at work?
Yeah. So I do a little bit different position now. I used to design microwave instruments, and I'll tell you about that day. That day, oh man, it could deal with a lot of things depending on where we are in the design process. If it was early in the design process, we're bouncing our ideas off the senior engineers. If it's in the middle of the design process, we're getting the components and we're testing them before we put them in our. Because I designed something instruments from end to end that measure different things. Graduate student that measured by the top space agency in the world that measured snow water, so how much water the snowpack make. Just FYI, I'm not representing NASA in this video. See, if we're on the end, like if we already developed the sensor, I actually got a chance to fly on the aircraft and take measurements with the sensor I developed. Now I'm a little bit home the business side of engineering. And so like what I do now, I talk to our scientists and engineers about working with small businesses. So like last week I was in our space weather lab and they were showing the events from the sun, solar events that had radiation, how it could affect the satellites, how it could affect, just various things. And so my day kind of changes depending on what I'm doing. But you do have the meetings, you do have the paperwork,
Right.
but it changes so much, But I'm always looking at a lot of different technologies these days.
What exciting projects you guys are working on?
So one of the things that I think the space industry, people want to go to the moon and Mars, and people want to commercialize space, right? And so the commercialization of space, I think, is one of the things that's happening that's really interesting in the space industry. So we want to let the users of space have a stake in that. That we want small businesses to participate in this commercialization of space, more than to kind of get a piece of that pie, so we as normal, regular people, not just your Boeings and your Lockheeds and your big government contractors making the decisions in space. We want smaller businesses to also participate in making some of those connections and making some of those decisions in space. So some of the areas I find to be interesting, like active debris remediation, active debris tracking, that's tracking debris and the movement. So your satellites and your spacecraft don't get damaged by other space debris.
Yeah.
I really like wireless power. We're going to have to do wireless power. That's why I got into this industry.
Yeah, I think last time when we met, you were working on some, weather in
right.
March.
Yeah,
So,
that too. Taking observations of Earth and using that to kind of help with our climate models and all those different things. So all these technologies, observing the Earth from space, observing space from Earth. I'm really liking this commercial LEO, like what people are doing in the low Earth orbit. So they're putting actually commercial like space stations there, and they're doing testing with plants and tested in preparation that goes in the moon, preparation that goes to farms.
That's interesting. So, what skills and education you think it's
Excellent
important?
question.
Yeah.
So, what I would say to the students, like at whatever level you are, understand the mathematics. And if you want to do engineering, understand physics. And what I mean by understand is don't just be able to work the problems. Understand what is area for those of you that are really young. Like, an area of a square is the length times the width. Understand these things in the physical world. So any equation, area, circumference, volume, and if you all are a little bit more advanced with your derivatives or your integrals, understand what that looks like in the physical world. Similarly for physics. So all these different physics theories and all these different things, if it's any equation, number one, understand how it looks in the physical world. And number two, see if you could derive that. Okay. And find multiple sources to kind of help you see if you could derive those equations. So like if you think of area, length, and width, it makes sense. Just multiply the length times the width. That's kind of a derivation. But once you go up into like integrals and derivatives, understand how to derive those and where those things come from. And again, physical nerve. That's the advice I would give.
Right. Like, I think it's all about the basics and getting your foundation.
Foundation has to be solid. And the last thing I would say, in addition to understanding and efficiency, verification, get some programming skills. Programming was very challenging for me. But if you just keep working at it, you eventually get it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And I know you have to go.
Yeah.
So we'll catch up again sometime. Thank you.
Great job, man. You're a great interviewer, bro.